The reflection. Clara always hated the mirror in the hallway. It was an antique, framed in dark wood that seemed to grow darker with age. She had found it at an estate sale years ago, and despite its eerie presence, it had been the centerpiece of the hallway for as long as she could remember. She couldn't explain why it unsettled her so much. It wasn't the reflection itself, it was the feeling of being watched. Every time she passed by it, she'd catch a glimpse of her own face, but there was always something off about it. The eyes seemed too wide, the mouth too still. And once, in the dim light, she could have sworn her reflection blinked at a different time than she did. Tonight, after a long day, Clara walked through the hallway, heading to bed. The house was quiet, the air still. She paused in front of the mirror, staring at her reflection, half distracted as she brushed a loose strand of hair from her face. Her eyes were bloodshot, tired from work, but otherwise nothing unusual. Yet as she stared, she noticed something. Her reflection wasn't moving in sync with her. Her hand was still raised to her head in the mirror, but in real life, it was already resting at her side. Her heart skipped a beat. Just a trick of the light, she thought, trying to rationalize it. But then something else changed. Slowly, very slowly, the reflection of her face began to smile, a wide, wicked grin. But Clara wasn't smiling. Her mouth remained in its neutral position, but the reflection twisted, as if mocking her. She took a step back, her breath quickening. The smile widened, and now it wasn't just her face that was wrong. The figure in the mirror was beginning to move, its eyes narrowing as it leaned forward, staring directly at her. It reached up with a slow, deliberate motion, and Clara's stomach twisted in horror as it placed its hand against the glass, mirroring her own. But the reflection's hand didn't stop. It pressed against the glass with more force as though pushing through. Clara stumbled back, her mind racing, her heart pounding in her chest. She couldn't tear her eyes away as the reflection's fingers began to distort, stretching unnaturally. The mirror shuddered, and then it happened. The figure's hand slipped through the glass and grabbed her wrist. Clara screamed, but the sound was muffled, as though the air around her had thickened. The reflection's grip tightened, cold and unyielding, and as she struggled to pull away, her own reflection whispered, "It's your turn now." Clara tried to scream again, but the words caught in her throat. The last thing she saw before the world went black was the distorted face of her reflection, now fully stepping through the mirror, its grin impossibly wide. The hallway was silent once more.